Why saving money is plain old stupid. I'll tell you exactly why right here in this video. Let's get right into it. Alright, so we've all been hearing for the ages, save your money. Although this is a great strategy for some people, other people out there, me included, think that this is an absolutely terrible idea, which is exactly what I want to talk about right here in this video. So let's get into all the details. However, before we get too far into this video, I just want to make it very, very clear before we get too far. I am not suggesting by any means at all that you should go out and empty out your bank accounts and empty out all the cash from under your mattress and go out and spend it. No, I am not saying that at all. I just want to make this very clear so that there's no misunderstanding. If you're in the position, which there's actually not that many people out there who are in this position right now, but if you do have some extra money set aside, whether it's in cash at your home, maybe in a bank account, whether it's a checking or savings, something like this, I am not suggesting at all that you should go out and spend that money right now on stuff. That's actually a really bad idea as well. But however, I just want to make very clear as well, if you do need to go out and buy some things, then by all means, do what's best for you. But I'm not saying that you should empty out all your money and say, I'm spending it because Matt said saving money is a bad idea. No, I am not saying that, okay? So let's get into it and talk about all the details on this. And hopefully this will give you a better perspective as to what is really going on right now and why saving money is actually a really, really bad idea. It has been for many, many years, and especially right now, it's actually a terrible idea. So let's get right into this. All right, so let me give you a couple of quick examples of what is really going on right now. I think a lot of us have been hearing about this, and let me lay this out for you, as I could probably sit here for an hour straight giving you idea after idea, reason after reason why saving money, sticking it aside, is not really an effective plan anymore. Let me lay this out for you. So it's all coming down to inflation as of right now. So get this, just over the last year alone, over the last 12 months, inflation is up nearly 8.5%. So that basically tells you that the purchasing power of your dollars has depleted by 8% just in the last 1 year alone. Let me give you a quick example. Just in case you don't believe me, let me say this much. All right, so let's rewind 1 year ago, okay? So let's just pretend we can go back in time exactly 1 year. You have $100 in your hand. You're told that you need to go to the grocery store and buy exactly $100 worth of groceries. Again, this is a year ago, okay? You go to the grocery store, you buy $100 worth of stuff. You save your receipt. Now today, you come back, you pull out your receipt from exactly 1 year ago, and you have the same assignment. You go to the grocery store with exactly $100 in your hand, and you go and buy the exact same food items that you bought 1 year ago. Let me just ask you, do you think you're going to buy the same items for exactly $100? Or do you think it's going to be maybe like $110, $115, $120? I'd be willing to bet you, even $100 right here, right now, that you're going to spend significantly more than $100 today than what you spent last year on the same exact items. Same thing. That's called inflation, otherwise known as the depletion of purchasing power. Now, you might be wondering, why? Why is all this happening? It's because over the last 2 years, the Federal Reserve has printed $6 trillion. That's a lot of money. Let me put it into perspective a little bit more clearly. Just in the last 2 years alone, the Federal Reserve has printed over 20% of the dollars in circulation right now were printed in the last 2 years. Again, put that into perspective. 1 out of every $5 floating around in the world right now, US dollars, were printed in the last 2 years. So, yeah, you can see this now. So basically what it comes down to is way more money chasing the same amount of goods and services, causing massive, massive inflation. There's a lot of money floating around the system right now, and they need to get some of that money out of the system to bring down inflation and to actually shore up the money supply. That is the problem. Now, here's another thing too. Just since the dollar has been created, so not that many years that since the dollar has been around, it has lost almost, well, let me say this much, it's lost over 90% of its purchasing power. So get this, I mean, think of this. Way back, let's just say 50 years ago, maybe 60 years ago, 70 years ago, you hear about people all the time. Maybe you're somebody who lived back then. Maybe you're somebody who, lived during that time, maybe 50, 60, 70 years ago, and you can probably think back to your first job. How much were you earning per hour? You've probably heard it from some stories. I know that I've heard it from my parents. My parents are in their early 60s. I know it. I've heard it from them when they were working as kids, when they were working as, younger people, 15, 18, something like this. And even from my grandparents, I've had conversations like this. They talk about it back when they were, teenagers working for 25 cents an hour, $1.25 an hour or something, like my parents. You know what I mean? My point is, $1 back then was worth significantly more. It's, once again, the depletion of the purchasing power of money because of massive inflation and money printing. Now, something else that we need to take into account too. Back in 1971, the United States dollar was taken off of the gold standard. Maybe you were around then, and maybe you remember this time. This was a very important time in the history of the United States and, of course, our money. Here's what happened. So prior to this happening, when the dollar was on the gold standard, every dollar could be redeemed at a bank for the equivalent amount of gold, right? So literally, it was backed by gold. You could walk into a bank with a $10 bill, and you could say, hey, give me the amount of gold. You know what I mean? You could literally exchange a paper $10 bill for the equivalent in gold. That was the gold standard. Well, in 1971, the dollar was taken off of the gold standard. Therefore, it's backed up by nothing. It's backed up by thin air. That's it. It's backed up by a promissory note. That's it. The full faith of the federal government. That's it. That's all that money is worth now. It is a promise. That's it. Nothing. You cannot walk into a bank and give them a $10 bill and say, please, can I have the equivalent in gold? They would laugh at you and say, you've got to be kidding me. The gold standard ended like 50 years ago. We don't have any gold here. We don't have that. This $10 bill is worthless. It's a little piece of paper with some ink on it. So that's pretty much what's happening with money right now. So another thing too, because of all this inflation going on right now, inflation is moving up significantly right now. I want to point this out as well. Are you getting 8.5% on your money in a bank account? If you are, please let me know. Leave a comment down below. Let me know where you're getting that percentage, because all the banks that I have, which by the way, I only have 2 bank accounts, but one of them is an online account, which does happen to have a pretty nice interest rate. However, right now, it's pathetically low, 0.6%. So just a touch over 0.5%. Yeah, that is the best interest rate. Now, there might be some other online banks out there that do have a little bit higher interest rate, but for the most part, interest rates are practically zero. So here's the problem. Inflation on a year-over-year basis is at about 8.5% year-over-year, okay? Inflation continues to rise at about 1%, anywhere between about 0.5% and 1% each and every month. Meanwhile, the banks are paying about 0.5% interest. So, do you see the problem here? Even if you have your money in a, let's just say like a high yield savings account that's maybe yielding even 0.75 or maybe even 1% a year, by the way, you're still losing about 7.5% to inflation. It's an equation that does not work for the savers, okay? Now, by the way, if you like I said earlier, if you have extra money sitting around right now and you have money saved, seriously, congratulations. There are not many people right now. I've been reading tons of reports on this. There are not many people that have extra money sitting around right now. In fact, according to the reports that I've been reading, the vast majority of Americans that had any money coming into this whole situation that we've been in over the last over 2 years now, pretty much depleted all their savings over the last 2 years. There are not many people out there with any money saved anymore, according to the reports. Obviously, I don't know for sure. I don't have access to everybody's bank account, and honestly, I don't want access to anybody's bank account. But these are the reports that I'm actually reading about right now. People do not have money saved. So I just want to make it very clear. If that is your situation, congratulations. I'm super happy for you. Even to have anything set aside right now is pretty remarkable, because not many people do. Vast majority of people are actually floating balances on credit cards. So getting back to the example, and what we're talking about here with savings accounts. If you're putting money away into a savings account, that's great. But here's the problem. You're still losing significant amounts of purchasing power each and every year right now because of the inflation. You could be losing 7.5%, 8% on your money every single year just because of the inflation that we're dealing with right here, right now. So you might be wondering, okay, then what's the solution? What do you think I should do with my extra money? Here's what you can do. And again, I just want to make it very clear. I'm not here to advise you in any way, shape, or form. This is not financial advice. I do not know your exact situation. However, I can give you a few ideas that you may want to consider thinking about, okay? Again, just think about it. You got to understand your situation. I don't know your situation, and I'm certainly not here to give you advice, but rather I'm here to give you some ideas that you can maybe play around with and consider. Here's what you can think about. If you have any outstanding debt, maybe it's floated on a credit card balance, maybe it's a car loan, maybe it's a mortgage, maybe it's a personal loan, maybe it is who knows what, anything. If you have any kind of outstanding debt right now, you may want to consider taking savings that you may have set aside, and again, I would highly advise too, leaving some money sit around just like as a little rainy day fund. It's always smart to have some extra money sitting around just in the event, a tire pops on your car, you get a nail in your tire, the transmission goes out, who knows what. We always know something happens, right? Who knows? The weirdest things happen. Sometimes it's always smart to have a little bit of extra money sitting around in the event the inevitable happens, right? You got to be prepared for that. But what I'm saying is above and beyond that, you may want to consider paying down some debts right now, if that is your case. Here's the thing. Even though you might be getting, say, 0.5% in interest on your savings account, the problem is if you have outstanding debt on a credit card, you're paying about 19.5% interest on that debt. So you're collecting 0.5%, which you have to pay taxes on, by the way. So after the government takes their 25% cut on that, you're really not getting much at the end of the day. Meanwhile, you're paying 19.5% or more in interest on your credit card. So you can kind of see the obvious solution here. Pay down credit card debts if that's your case. The same thing goes with maybe auto loans, personal loans, lines of credit, anything else like that, student loans, mortgages, anything like that. Pretty much any kind of debt out there right now is probably going to be charging a higher interest rate right here, right now. Even if you're somebody who locked in a mortgage, say a year and a half ago at rock bottom lows of say 2.75%, maybe 3%. That's very, very low. But at the end of the day, it's still about 2.5% higher than what you're actually receiving in any kind of savings account right now. So again, you can see you might be earning 0.5%. Meanwhile, you're paying 3%. The decision is obvious, right? So anyway, these are a couple of things that could be done. Paying down debts would always be a great, great solution. Next, I want to throw this out there again, and this is not investment advice in any way, shape, or form, but you may want to consider looking around at some of the different options out there that may be able to provide you some type of ongoing, return on your money. You could look at stocks, you could look at bonds, you could look at I-bonds, which, by the way, are paying over 9.6% right now. That's pretty healthy, right? There's a few different things about that. Again, I can make a dedicated video about I-bonds if you'd like me to. That's a very, very high rate right now, over 9.5% on your money. But again, you got to tie your money up for for quite a few years, and you can't really touch it. If you do, there's a penalty. But again, I can talk about that in a separate video. But anyway, you may want to think about doing some investments or something like this that actually exposes you to maybe a higher return on your money. Maybe you could invest in stocks or bonds or real estate or do something like this where rather than getting 0.5%, you can maybe consider, hey, maybe I can get 8%. Maybe I can just actually match the inflation that's going on right now. So rather than depleting my money by 7.5%, 8% a year, maybe my money is actually just holding constant with that inflation that's going on right now. So there's so many different investment options right now. Again, I could come back and make dedicated videos talking about a few different options, but the whole fact of the matter is saving money right now, just having literally cash sitting under your mattress, cash sitting in a checking account, a savings account that yields virtually zero interest, it's literally decaying every single day. That money is decaying very, very slowly. It is losing its purchasing power. Now, the money is not physically disappearing, but rather the ability for that money to go out into the economy and buy goods and services is depleting every day. Like the example that I gave you earlier, buying $100 worth of groceries a year ago is very different than what $100 worth of groceries is going to buy you today. I wish I would have saved some receipts from about a year ago. It'd be super interesting to look back a year ago and see what could you have gotten a year ago. I think all of us would feel like, wow, everything is so cheap. This is unbelievable. I'm getting a great deal right now on everything right now, right? If we were to go back a year ago and look at some of our receipts from groceries and literally anything that we're buying, I think all of us would be surprised at how much more we're paying today just because of all of this inflation that is completely 100% out of hand, right? So especially right now, ever since the dollar was taken off the gold standard back in 1971, over 50 years ago, the dollar is literally just a promissory note, like we discussed earlier. So as a result of that, saving money is not exactly the best idea anymore. Saving money is not really really fruitful in any way, shape, or form, simply because, for all the reasons that we've talked about in this video, inflation continues to eat away at it and it's losing the vast majority of its value. So anyway, just want to lay this out for you, give you a few ideas why saving money is not really a great idea. However, let me throw one more idea out there too. Now, a lot of times we talk about saving money as in, hey, I have an extra $100 this month, let's set it aside and let's, stash it away. That's one form of saving money. Now, one more form of saving money that I do advocate for and that I do think is very smart is you go to the store, you want to buy a box of cereal, and stuck on the shelf right in front of it is one of those little coupon dispensers that says, buy two, get $2 off. Well, that's the kind of saving money that I like, right? Why not? Instant savings. So there's a difference between setting money aside, called saving, or difference of saving money at the cash register when you go to buy your products and services, right? So in those types of instances, yeah, by all means, I am all over that. I love getting a good deal, right? My favorite price, as I've said before in videos, is free. I love free. It's my favorite price, always have been, and always will be. And anything as close to free as I can get, love it. I love a free price, right? Or anything thereabouts. It's the best, right? I think all of us love something for free, or when we feel like we got a really good deal on something. It's always really satisfying, right? So anyway, I can come back in a separate video and talk about this in more detail if you'd like me to, but I wanted to come here in this one video alone and just talk about saving money, why it's not exactly the best idea. However, I just want to make it very clear one more time that if you do have some extra money sitting around right now, very smart. It's always nice to have some money sitting around, but excesses of cash sitting around that you above and beyond what you actually need in the event of a rainy day fund, unfortunately, it's just depleting. It's dissolving, right? So it's dissolving. It's like one of those tabs that you throw in the water, right? Those little fizzly tabs that you maybe like wash, like dentures or something with. You've probably seen the commercials, right? You throw it into the water, and right, it sits there and fizzles around. Starts out as a nice big tab, and all of a sudden, over time and time, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and then eventually just disappears. Kind of the same thing with money. Virtually like one of those little tabs. You hold on to it long enough, and before you know it, it's worthless. It has no value anymore, right? It's just dissolved into the system, just like the tab in the water. I don't know. Kind of a cool analogy, right? I know. I just thought of that one right off the top of my head. I know. I'm pretty cool. Anyway, hope this one helps you out. Make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet. Share this video with your friends, family, social media, and go back and check out any of the other thousands of videos right here on the channel. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. I hope this video gives you a little bit more insight into the world of money and a little bit of the games that are going on right now. It's kind of unfortunate. Our livelihoods, our future, our money, our bank accounts, everything like that is just like a big old game and we got to play. Otherwise, you get lost in the mix. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. I can always come back and make a more advanced video on this and a little bit more detailed video. But anyway, I wanted to introduce you to these ideas because here's the thing. If I go too advanced right away, we can get kind of lost in the mix once again because there's a lot to talk about here. Anyway, hope this one helps you. Subscribe down below, share the video, go back and check out some of the other videos here on the channel. Enjoy your day, and thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. I'll catch you again later.